Chapter 695, Stark Contrast. Gales with icy fragments and goose feather-sized snowflakes blasted at Klein's face repeatedly. As he surveyed his surroundings, he couldn't help but tense up. He bent over slightly as he trembled. How cold! He nearly cursed it out as he confirmed that he was in a land of ice and snow, which had extremely low visibility. He originally imagined that the moist coldness of Backland's winter was terrifying, but he now knew that absolute low temperatures and strong winds that were as sharp as blades were a deadly combination. Even though he had worn an additional sweater ahead of time, and his coat was thick and long, he still couldn't withstand the chill. He didn't wear sun brooch because the heat generated was psychological. It could be used to resist the influence of the intense chill for a short period of time, preventing his body from turning numb. But faced with an everlasting icy environment, it was equivalent to suicide. Heat at the psychological level made one's pores open up as though one was in summer. It would peel off the final layer of defense against low temperatures, and it would even proactively welcome it. Therefore, Klein threw the mystical item above the gray fog. He planned on using it only on certain special occasions. He couldn't afford to delay while in such harsh environments. After a preliminary observation of his surroundings, he immediately burned the blood on the bronze dagger and stuffed it into his pocket. Following that, Klein took out the adventurer's harmonica and blew into it. Amidst the howling winds, he failed to discover the appearance of Miss Messenger, Tynker Rionette, through the spirit vision he activated. Indeed, this place isn't connected to the spirit world, or it should be said that this place has a unique spirit world for itself. From the looks of it, praying to see God would be useless. Only charms that point to the mysterious space above the gray fog would tear through the barrier. Here comes the problem. As a believer of the God of knowledge and wisdom, Edwina knows the true God's honorific name. Why didn't she seek his help, or did she try to no avail? Yes, not every deity will personally reply to their believers. Many a time, they seem to provide feedback based on certain laws. You probably can't find a second, secret existence like me who takes on jobs like myself. Klein gave a self-deprecating laugh and made a preliminary judgment. He then put away his harmonica, took out the paper slip with Danitz's blood, and he wrapped it at the end of his cane. Danitz's location, Klein softly said as he began using dowsing rod seeking. Then, according to the outcome, he traversed across the thick snow, and he quickly tore through the frosty winds under the gloomy sky. From time to time, he would carry out a divination and adjust his bearings. After all, Danitz wouldn't wait in his original spot, as he would end up as an ice sculpture by doing so. About 10 minutes later, Klein discovered a scarlet flame. Phew! He exhaled before taking a few steps forward to identify his target. It was indeed Danitz. This famous pirate wore rather thin clothes. He wrapped his arms around himself as he walked forward with a lost expression. However, he didn't seem to be that cold. This was because scarlet fire ravens were circling around him. They were boiling the snow and blocking out the winds, bringing about a spring-like warmth. In such times, Klein especially admired a pyromaniac. Although a magician had the same ability to summon flames, it was an offensive ability that couldn't be maintained. It could only be used for a split moment. To rely on it to warm himself, he needed to constantly cast it, tiring himself out quickly. As for flame controlling, it depended on existing flames or ignitable materials. Both of them were extremely lacking in this world of ice. As he saw the fire ravens soaring into the air, Klein sped up his pace and approached. Danitz jumped in fright when he sensed someone approaching. When he saw who the newcomer was, he immediately heaved a sigh of relief. Then, with an odd expression, he forced a smile. Haha, there's no stars to be seen here. Getting lost is inevitable. Klein ignored what he said as he directly asked, "Have you burned it?" "I did," Danitz hurriedly nodded, his entire being effusing with indescribable fear. Klein observed Danitz for a few seconds, and after confirming that he wasn't lying, produced the polite smile of Jayaman Sparrow. "Remember, chanting his honorific name makes you his believer." Danitz's expression twisted as he forced a smile which looked worse than crying. "I don't want to change my faith. I have no intention of believing in an unknown existence of dubious origins. He inwardly roared crazily, but didn't say a word. He suspected that any retort he makes would lead to him being buried in the snow by the madman. Klein wore a smile that had hints of madness. He added with a calm tone, "Remember, keep it a secret. Once divulged, you and your captain will both die." "What has this got to do with Captain?" Danitz blurted out. Klein maintained his previous expression as he smiled at Danitz. "Guess." Danitz gaped his mouth. With the reason known, all he could do was give a hollow chuckle. "Do I look like someone who can't keep secrets?" Klein nodded. As he took out the paper slip with Anderson's blood, he chuckled and said to Danitz, "Believe in him, serve him. Perhaps one day you will become a blessed like me. When the time comes, your name will spread across the 5 seas. You will be in no way inferior to a pirate admiral." As he spoke, he planned on adding a gesture as the fool's believer, but sadly, he realized that he didn't have such a gesture. All he could do was console himself. A secret organization needs to be secret. Doing all these kinds of superficial actions is meaningless. Mr. Hanged Man was right. No way inferior to Pirate Admiral. Danitz's eyes suddenly lit up. Since I've already chanted the honorific name of this secret existence, there's really no way to avoid it from a mysticism point of view. I might as well take this opportunity. He instantly had many thoughts, having even named his future child. If it wasn't for Jayaman Sparrow's persona, I would have directly said that you would have the reputation and strength that matches Vice Admiral Iceberg when the time comes. Of course, whether she likes you will be a whole other matter. According to my observations, you stand little chance. The partner Edwina wishes to have is someone who can study and improve alongside her, someone who can discuss all kinds of knowledge. Klein mumbled as he used dowsing rod seeking again. Anderson Hood's location. He came in too. Danitz was first taken aback before he asked in surprise. Klein finished chanting the statement, released his cane, and determined the direction in which it fell. He then nodded and said, "I'm worried if he stays outside." "So you're also wary of Anderson Hood?" Danitz couldn't hide his smile as he echoed, "That's right. He's the kind of person who smiles on the surface but will stab you in the back once you turn around. His reputation in the Fog Sea is terrible. There are no pirates that like him. He even deliberately tried to sully you, making us be wary of you, to view you with animosity. If pirates were to like him, it would only mean that his title as strongest hunter isn't substantial. I heard Anderson's provocations." Klein didn't reply. He picked up his cane and proceeded through the blizzard. Danitz followed closely behind, using fire ravens to scatter the snow and block out the cold, so that they too didn't need to freeze. Not bad, quite sensible. At that moment, Klein once again experienced the benefits of having a servant, to have someone hold an umbrella during a rainy day, and someone to provide warmth in a blizzard. In the white vastness, the two appeared like black dots, trudging through the snow. They proceeded forward for nearly 20 minutes before arriving at the location where the dowsing pointed to. "He isn't here." Danitz surveyed the area and failed to find any traces of Anderson Hood. He didn't have any doubts about Jayaman Sparrow's dowsing rod seeking, because he was the last person to be found with it. Klein frowned as he activated his spirit vision and enhanced his spiritual perception. Suddenly, he sensed something. He prodded forward with his cane, causing the snow in front of him to collapse. The collapse revealed a cave. Inside, it were dark rocks that were reflecting the light from a fire. Klein crouched down. In his vision, he discovered that the cave extended into a narrow passage, and at the end of the passage was a bunch of glowing red rocks. Strange underground plants were slowly burning as Anderson Hood sat beside it. He was leisurely roasting an animal that resembled a rabbit. The fragrance of the fats and the warmth it brought were emanating out, drilling into Klein's and Danitz's noses. "You guys are finally here. Want to give it a try? There's actually a strange rabbit around here that can live in such ice and snow." Anderson bent down, looking towards the entrance as though he was greeting companions on a camping trip with him. Although he didn't say anything provocative, I really wished to beat him up. Klein entered the cave with a stoic expression. He came close to the fire and experienced the long-awaited bliss. Danitz followed in tow. He looked at the fire, which was roasting a rabbit, and then at the fire ravens beside him before silently dispelling them. How did you find this cave? Danitz asked in disgruntlement, unwilling to admit his inferiority, but his body betrayed him by leaning closer to the fire. Anderson turned the rabbit, which was impaled with his pitch-black sword, and he shot Danitz a glance. First lesson of being a hunter: observe your surroundings, be familiar with your surroundings, make use of your surroundings. Danitz's expression immediately froze. Anderson looked at Jayaman Sparrow and chuckled. It's a cave I blasted open. How is it? It's not bad, right? I controlled my strength perfectly. As he spoke, he took a whiff of the air and said, "How fragrant. The roasting seems to be done. Do you want to give it a try? Although I didn't bring any spices, there's rock salt here. It will just be a little astringent." "Are you sure you can eat this? If it's a beyonder creature, you might lose control with just one bite," Danitz said with a tusk. Anderson glanced at him. Second lesson of being a hunter: distinguish what can and cannot be eaten in the wilderness. He carefully reached out his hand, pulled off a leg, and stuffed it into his mouth as he ate it with relish. Klein was just about to say something when he suddenly felt a wanton aura approach from afar. The suppressive feeling that came from a high-leveled creature appeared extremely real. It made Danitz tremble uncontrollably. The aura swept across them without noticing the strangeness of the cave beneath it. It then quickly departed. King of the Norths. The title flashed across Klein's mind.